Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. And thank you for the invitation to speak. At 4:30 this morning, when the alarm went off, I wasn't particularly pleased to get this grumpy call, and I've since got over it. And thank you very much for the stimulating presentation so far. In fact, I'm so grateful to have what is not sounding rude at all and not disrespectful, but I love the fact that the bureaucrats have provided the numbers, given us some sense of the skills and the lists. I'm not going to give you a list. My job, I think, is to rethink perhaps a little bit about where these skills requirements are, and to think about how we might approach skills development in this country. And I need to say, of course, we're at this another poignant moment in the history of this country's education. Universities might look very different in the next couple of weeks and in the years to come. And we may not be able to do the kind of delivery of conventional disciplines as we might have done in the past. I don't know, and I'm not any words of wisdom here at all, but I think there is a moment again when it's going to cause us to rethink. And so, brace yourselves, things could be different. And every one of us in this room, by the way, will be calling for affordable education. So we are with a cause that's a very important imperative for the development of this country. And how it's going to look and how it's going to shape, and whether universities can continue in the format they currently are providing, is a question for the future. And where the water sector finds itself in terms of service and support to this very important sector is something that we're going to have to really think through in a big way in the future. In the last moments of sitting here, I've had a number of interactions with students who are working on various projects with me. One where I began not working with that student, but one which is a comment that happened over the weekend where the student said to me, the profession that I'm going into is rated and recognized as the top in the world from South Africa. Do you know what profession that is? Any guesses? A plumber. Well, let me say that it has nothing to do with the water sector. So which profession is that? You might think medicine, maybe. It happens to be rated by the World Economic Forum and by 5 international bodies that the South African Chartered Accountant Association in this country or profession is top of the world. How do they do that? And how is it possible that through all of this they are top of the guns? And so I said to the student who got into this debate, I said, that's nonsense. Tell me how you get that criteria. And so while I was sitting there, WhatsApp came, all the links, all the 5 bodies that have recognized the chartered accountants as being top of the profession recognized around the world. So you've got students who are marketable and mobile. Wouldn't we like our water sector students and the profession to be moved into that? And how do you do that? Well, if you look at the accounting profession, there's some of the clues. And we don't have enough time to go into that sort of discussion. Now, I'm an academic, and so I'm paid to think, and I'm paid to stimulate and hopefully pass on something that is going to cause you to be uncomfortable or hopefully to raise the debate. Let me first raise one of the debates, and this is no slight on the conference organizers. But I have to do this. Because this bottle comes from the site, or nearby the site that I'm about to actually introduce you just now. This is all the way from Franschhoek in the Western Cape. What the hell is this bottle doing here? How is it possible that a water in a bottle has come all the way 900 kilometers or more, 1600 kilometers all the way up here? We should be fighting to get water out of a bottle. We should not have it at a water conference. So apologies and respect to the organizers, but wake up. We as a profession have got to work very hard to make sure that our water is available to everybody. It's not in a bottle like this. And look, it's convenient to run a conference like this with the water, so apologies for being disrespectful, but here's a message. And the last poignant moment is that I'm going to keep the title the way it is. There's a double whammy in that title, isn't it? And that's what the organizers asked me to speak on. And I can live with the first part, skills for development, of course I can. And the second part, adapting to water scarcity, of course we can. But then it has an implication that water scarcity is due to climate change. It's an implicit idea that, of course, that's one of our double whammies that's coming along our way. The first whammy is what we're doing right now. It's years and years. It's like a deer in the headlights. You know what it is? You suddenly come along this journey on the road and the lights come on and the deer's lights or eyes are reflected in the lights and you suddenly say, climate change. All along the way, you've been along the road and you've seen lots of other things, and now climate change. Damn it, I get so fed up with the climate change guys who've taken all the limelight and their headlights are over there. And I work with colleagues, Professor Bruce Hewitson, officers next door to me, Climate Systems Analysis Group. They're top guns and I'm damn jealous about it. I've spent ages, years working with water and land use and behavior and management, resources, and those sort of things don't get as clearly recognized. Climate change is seemingly the deer in the headlights, the thing that's flickering on the horizon, and we've reacted to that, quite rightly so. Quite rightly so, but there's a whole lot of things that we've missed along the way, along that road. So I'm going to show you, present a few ideas, and the first one I want to do is to, just as a quick reminder, very different to what the other speakers have done, but I want to look at the journey of how we eventually get to a social reconstruction of sustainability in water resource management. This is the work that is done by Olsen and Turton in about 1999, and I still refer it back to my students to say, look at the paradigm of how this has moved. And this is what it looks like. It's got two axes, first of all, an X and a Y. The bottom axis is almost the paradigms, the heroic engineering at the bottom. The engineers who said, let's get in there and supply. And South Africa has got a brilliant record, known worldwide for its infrastructure, its dam building, and the names of various politicians that sit in our dams today. And the next phase to that is about how we deal with this demand that is increasing and the supply of dams we can no longer afford to do. And so a new strategy in water emerges. And it's called the end-use efficiency, as in Olsen and Turton, but essentially it's about how we're moving into this demand, water demand process. But all along the way, you can see with the population curve, there's an increase in demand for resources. So on the left-hand side is look at it as in volumes, as in a measure of at least some volume. There's no axis on the left-hand side in terms of a actual unit. At the same time, what happens worldwide, and as proposed by Olsen and Turton, you'll reach a point which is a critical threshold in which population will start to eventually level out in its growth, and that the water demand curve will have to be brought down amount to a sustainable level. That's part of their thesis. And there's the sustainable level somewhere sitting around about or down below there in terms of what can be supplied. And we'll come to it just now. There's the other issue, which is a deficit. And so that's what happens. Eventually population begins to outstrip the water availability, and you've now got to work really hard to bring down that deficit. And you've got to bring it down to a sustainable level of water resources. And you've got to manage it in such a way. And if we think we're going to manage it just simply by putting out more skills, and the Department of Water and Sanitation is going to be the key focal point to managing it, it's not going to work. You're going to have to look at a whole society's change in the way it behaves and interacts with